All right, everybody, welcome back. You should be in some starter code that looks very similar to your starter code from yesterday. Yesterday, you guys were using key presses. Today, we are using key presses, but instead of just changing something, we are going to increment our variables, which means we are going to add or subtract to our variables to make slower changes in our code. So, please make sure that you have duplicated this code. Go up to File, click Duplicate to make yourself a copy. Remember, you only see that if you are logged in. Then go ahead and hit File Save to make sure it's living in your account forever. And once you see your username up at the top and the word copy after, we're ready to get started. So get your YouTube video next to your code so we can start typing through it together. We are heading all the way down past these 4 beautiful circles that you guys saw yesterday, all the way down to this code along, and you will see that we want to make this top circle get bigger and smaller with key presses. Now there's no number here. It's not like take it from 100, make it 600. We want to make it slowly get bigger and slowly get smaller. So we are going to go ahead and start with our conditional statement, and we're going to use 2 keys. I'm going to choose B and S because we are using bigger and smaller. You might need to change size on future tasks. You'll just pick different letters. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my if, and I'm going to put in my parentheses, or my curly braces, and my parentheses. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill in this if. And I'm going to say that if key is pressed and the key is the same as 2 equal signs, B, I want it to get bigger. Now, here's the step we normally do first. I need a variable to increase. So let's pause and head up and make ourselves a variable. And just a reminder, you guys are welcome to pause and rewatch at any point in time if you feel like I'm going too fast or like you missed something. So I am dealing with this very first ellipse on line 11 and all the styling stuff on lines 8 through 10. So at the very top of the page, I'm going to make a variable called C1 size. And then I'm going to make a note that this controls top left circle size. Now, inside my setup, I'm going to give it a starting size, and I'm going to say that C1 size should start at 100 because I noticed that all of these circles, every single one of them, has a diameter of 100. So what should happen, remember that after I've made my variable and I've given it a starting value, is that in my shape, which is now on line 14, I made some lines, I moved it down, I need to use that to control something. I'm going to take out that last number that controls size, and I'm going to plug in C1 size. Remember that if you do not use your variable, you are not going to see the results happening on your screen, even though they may be secretly taking place somewhere that you cannot see. What should happen if I hit play now is that absolutely nothing has changed because C1 size is still 100. If I wanted to test this, I could try changing C1 size to 50, and I see it get a smaller circle, so I know that my circle, my ellipse, is being controlled by that variable. So I'm going to go ahead and change it back to 100, and then I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to add this in. So you guys are used to seeing things that look like, when I want something to be a different size or different color, C1 size now equals 200, and it becomes 200. That's not what I want this time. This time, I want C1 size to slowly increase as I am pressing the B button. So I'm going to go ahead and hit C1 size should now equal whatever C1 size was before plus 1. So now every time I'm pressing B, or if I'm holding B multiple times, it's going to take 1 and add it back to C1 size. So remember, when you want to test things, we need to hit play, but we also need to click our canvas once so it knows that when we're typing, we're talking to the canvas and not to the editor. So I've clicked my canvas once, now I'm going to just test hitting B. And we should notice that it gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more I am tapping the B key on the keyboard. And if I just hold it, it will like go ahead and get bigger forever. This is the first ellipse I drew, so it's going to get bigger behind everything else, but eventually it's going to take over everything like some scary horror movie monster. So I'm going to hit play again, and there's a few things that I think I want us to adjust here. The first thing is I would like us to have a key to make it smaller, so if it gets big I can make it tiny again. So I'm going to say else if key is pressed and the key is the same as S, and I'm going to remember my curly braces because I didn't do the normal setup I do for you guys. So I have else if key is pressed and my double ampersands, the key is the same as S, curly brace. Inside of here, I'm going to say that C1 size should now equal itself minus 1. So this is more of us like doing math in our code, but the computer really handles all the calculations for us. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit play. I click over here, bigger. If I start hitting S, smaller. And a funky thing is going to happen. If I get too small, I'm only hitting S right now. It's eventually going to disappear and then start going the other way. It's suddenly going to start getting bigger. And that's actually because you entered negative number territory. The computer doesn't understand what it means for an ellipse to have a negative number, so it starts using the absolute value of a negative in order to get bigger. That's something that's written into the ellipse function behind the scenes by the wizards who made the P5 library. Now, if I don't want it to get smaller, I can keep adding conditions to both my if and my else if. So maybe I don't want it to go below 0. I could write in here another and. I'm writing in the parentheses of my else if. I'm going to say key has to be pressed, the key needs to be S, and C1 size needs to be bigger than 0. If it's not, I don't want to keep subtracting because I don't want it to get smaller. So now if I hit play, and I click, and I hit S, you'll notice it gets smaller until it goes down to almost nothing. I can see like a very little speck there, but if I keep holding it, it doesn't get bigger again, and then I can hit B and bring it back up. Now, we might have the same issue for B. Maybe I do not want it to ever get above, 300, because I don't want it to take over my whole screen. I could say that the key needs to be pressed, the key needs to be B, another and, circle size needs to be less than 300. Now when I hit play and I hold down B after clicking on my canvas once, it'll only get so big, and even if I am holding on to that button, it will never get bigger than 300, which just so happened to work out that it is just perfectly touching those other two circles, which is so satisfying. And then of course I can hit S and make it shrink down again. What you guys are going to be doing is testing this variable incrementation, which is going to use this, again, same ideas that we talked about yesterday. You will just be using it in different challenges. So you have 3 new challenges. You'll be writing conditional statements and making variables for each of the other circles. And your exceeding option is to make sure you set a limit for each of these. So that's like that third condition that we added in. What should it not go past in order to function 1000% the way you intend it to? Good luck, guys. Again, I'm always excited to see what you guys make. We are getting into the coolest parts of code, and it's going to serve you so well in future projects. Bye, guys.